Good morning, traders. It's 8:01 a.m. Chicago time on Wednesday, the 17th of May, 2023. Thanks for joining me today on episode number 2471. Derivatives trading is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. A quick mic check, please. Thank you. Let's take a look at the all-important convergent trading pre-market summary sheet. We have a mild risk-on sentiment here. The market is ticking up. The market closed on lows in the ES and the Russell and so on. NASDAQ is also closed on the lows, but is playing a different game right now. There was a lot of selling on the close yesterday. Heavy delta dropping the settlement price in the S&P, for example, to 41.23 before we open to pop right back up and just trade sideways until about until the European Open. So that's when the risk-on sentiment took charge. This morning we had a major retailer target. We also had Siemens, Münchener, TJX companies. After the close, we have Cisco. The only news we have, the key news that we have is U.S. President Biden said that he had a good talk, productive meeting on debt ceiling, but still more work to do. It sounds like they're going to sort this out. But will somebody please knock the S&P upside the head and let them know that this will be worked out and that we should probably maybe go try trading somewhere else other than 41.20 to 41.50 for days on end, or 41.60 really. U.S. MBA mortgage applications lower than previous. U.S. building permits lower than expected. Fed's Bostic still a way to go to defeat inflation. Pressure on Fed will be enormous if unemployment starts to rise whilst inflation remains sticky. It's a bad situation. ECB's the cost, I think it's called ECB near end of tightening cycle. Transmission remains strong. Home Depot cuts forecast, signals weakness ahead for big U.S. retailers. This is a big deal. Big deal. Home Depot is huge. Home Depot is a bit of a canary for development, construction, and so on. FTC sues to block Amgen's $27.8 billion deal for Horizon Therapeutics. Vauxhall owner Stellantis warns Brexit may force it to close UK factory. More fallout from Brexit. And then for today, let's look at the numbers this morning. I mean, there was a lot that was released this morning from Europe and so on, G7 really, Japan and so on. But there isn't anything really huge here. The inflation rate final out of Europe came in at 7% in line. This is for April. Year on year, month on month came in at 0.6 versus 0.7, slightly better. CPI final for April for the Eurozone, 123.12, exactly as expected, basically. And then from there, we talked about the mortgage applications. Building permits 1.416, a little softer than 1.437 million. And the building permits month on month prelim for April came in at negative 1.5, which is a lot lower than the plus 0.2%. Housing starts month on month for April came in at 2.2%, quite strong relative to the expectation of negative 1.5. And so we're left with the crude oil inventories out of the EIA, gasoline, and so on. Crude oil stock change is expected to be a draw of 920,000 barrels. Gasoline expected to be a draw of 1.06. By the way, we've been in a draw on these inventories every week now for a few weeks. ECB's windows at 11:15 and so on and so on and so forth. I don't want to spend too much time on that. The S&P completely balanced but breaking to the upside. Currently just made a new overnight high. Still imbalanced though so far in the overnight session. 158,000 contracts rounded. 99% of the inventory is long. 99% we traded just a tiny teensy bit below the 41.23. And the range is 20 points with the high of 41.42. Looks like it's heading for 41.50. Point of control 41.34 against the 41.35 level that we've been dealing with for days and days and days and days on end. So nothing new to report here. This is going to be a short one. Here's what we were looking at yesterday. If you recall, I drew this. This is a daily composite with weekly profiles. Just stepping back a little bit, we could see that the point of control, oops, I don't want to do that. You can see the point of control, these yellow lines here, shifted up, nice little breakout, start of balance, balancing, 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 balancing. So I'm looking at the points of control week on week, including this week, and really just moved away from the extreme down there at 38.40 or so, or 50, and made a beeline back to the 41.53, and we've been stuck here for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. 6 weeks stuck in the same range, and when it breaks away, it comes right back. And we still are building the wedge here. We have an additional day in that yesterday traded so terribly, it traded inside of the prior day's range. And then, to make matters even, to make a bad situation worse, it traded inside of the prior day's session, but also inside of the IB for the entire session. So what that says is we made our session high and low in the first hour, which is usually the highest volume hour. This is when the higher time frame comes in and puts on positions, changes the open interest and so on. The first hour and the last hour of the day are the busiest usually. Until the very, very, very end, where we broke the IB low at 41.27 to close at 41.23, and we pushed to 41.20 in RTH. So we managed to get the IB stat. What's the IB stat? Does anybody know? What is the IB stat? If you're a Convergent member, you should be looking at that MSR report, the market stats report. But the IB stat is that by the end of the session, historically, by the end of the session, we will have breached, not touched, but breached the first hour's high or low by the end of the RTH session, historically to the tune of 97-98%. And yesterday managed to do so in the last couple of minutes. So there it is. It's pretty boring. You can see the IBs, the yellow line here. You can see that we ended up building a lot of balance here on top, and then running down at the very end of the session to close, to settle at 41.23. 41.23, and that's it. And then today, look at where we are. Fascinating. 41.40, right on top of the point of control of yesterday, basically on the TPO, and yesterday's point of control is around 41.35 in volume, and there's just not much going on here. There are no imbalances, there are no structural weaknesses, no single prints, no double TPOs high, double TPO low, no indication of anything whatsoever. Here it is, right? So we had this day, inside day-ish, took it out by a tick, had a lot of volume go off, by the way, at the at the low, and then we've just taken it back and gone back to the middle. So we are still building this nice little triangle here. It looked like we were going to break and run, but here we are again at 41.40. So um, not much to talk about today. We're still inside of the main bands, but if you look at the NQ, I mean, just much better trading. The NQ basically doubled back yesterday and retested the prior week's high by a couple ticks, only to settle just inside of the prior week's high, just right against these two tops here, and bounce back up. So the NQ is really a better trade overall. I talked about this yesterday. Um, a better trade overall than the S&P, and this is why I'm kind of standing by waiting for the S&P to break to the upside, because a lot of the NQ stocks are overlapped in the S&P. With crude, if I zoom in here, you could see crude tested the 7180, 7180, 7180, and we're finally pushing through. So with crude, we're looking at the next distribution. This is the lower distribution, and we're moving into the next distribution, and it looks like it's likely to test this 7270 area right in here. So if I threw a profile, a volume profile, voila. If I threw a volume profile on what's happened here, let's say it entered this zone right there and it exited right there, right? So if I throw a volume profile on here, we'll see where the point of control is, and it's a double distribution profile on on crude, and there's the point of control. This is the where the most volume is. I said 7260. It's around here. This is the area I'm looking for it to go to, right in here in crude, right there, right there. That's where we're looking for it to go. That covers the VPOC, the MC VPOC, and it's also a price action. The last price action retested in this zone, and that's where I'm looking for it to go to in crude. The upside in crude is pretty decent. We're tackling the low volume node here. As long as we hold and finish above this 7170 area, 7175 area, we're very likely that generally we would test the point of control, and if we push through and close above the point of control, we test the extreme. In that case, crude's giving us some pretty decent action here. But that's it. I can't say much more. I mean, there's not much more here to talk about other than sit and wait. The only other thing I wanted to kind of let you know about, of course, I've been announcing this now for a few days, is that this evening I'm flying out to London, and I'll be in Europe until the 27th. So today's the last Trader Bite for the next week and a half. I'm not going to be doing one tomorrow, Friday, or all of next week. My wife's going to fly over to London next week, and we'll spend our 10th anniversary there, just kind of traveling around. So I'm just taking the opportunity to be there while I'm there on business. We'll stay there, and the wifey's going to join. So I'm not going to be online much in the next week or so. So this is just a heads up that that I'm not going to be on tomorrow or Friday and all of next week. And then on Monday, I come back on Saturday, the 27th. On Monday, the 29th, it's Memorial Day in the U.S. Memorial Day in the U.S., so the markets are closed. So we're back in business on the 30th. Back in business on the 30th. I'll be refreshed And hopefully I'll be talking about something other than 41.35, 41.40, 41.50, and 41.60 in the ES. At least when I look at the NASDAQ, we're not talking about 13,200 and 13,080. At least we've moved away, and the Nasdaq's pushing 13,500. So at least they're accomplishing something. The ES is not. So just as a reminder, I will not be here tomorrow, Friday, or all of next week. Good luck, and watch your risk. I want you to be here when I get back. Don't be an idiot. Don't defend any trades. Don't trade out of boredom. Make sure the market's coming to you and you're not chasing the market. Okay? Make sure the market's coming to you. You're not chasing the market. Do your homework, do your map every morning, do your journal or log afterwards, and track your performance. And then we'll get back and hopefully you'll be a better trader. Okay? Good luck.